Greetings, YouTube. Today we're looking at an original Buffalo Skinner. In fact, it says original Buffalo Skinner right on the blade. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can see that. The blade is obviously in very rough shape. Whoever owned this before me ground the heck out of this thing. They didn't do a very good job, and it is about as sharp as your average butter knife. But it wasn't the blade that I bought it for. I would have preferred to have it with a decent blade. That would have been my preference, but I don't. No, I got it for this, which is the grip. Now, the grip and pommel in the past would have been bone jigged, and I'm not sure if it would have been aluminum or not. But it would have been bone jigging, because I did a little research, and every model I saw was bone jigged. But somebody took that off, and they replaced it with this. Now, I am almost positive this was done during the 1930s or 40s. Aluminum was a new material, and there were a number of people that were using it simply because it was unusual. It is important to remember... Sorry, there's noisy people outside. It's important to remember that one time, aluminum was worth more than platinum because it was so hard to produce, and it was very rare before the advent of electricity. Once you had electricity and you could use that to produce aluminum prices dropped like a rock, and it's what we have today, which is dirt cheap aluminum, and it's everywhere. But at one time it was expensive. In fact, one of the controversies during Napoleon's reign was that he had a necklace made for his lover, Josephine, that was gems set in aluminum, and the people were upset because it cost so much. It cost more than gold, and that just... They were like, this is absurd. Why are we letting the people do this? Yada, yada, yada. It caused a lot of controversies. But even in the 1900s, like the 1900 to like the 1950, aluminum wasn't all that common. It was thing you found it in manufacturing for like airplanes, and it would slowly begin to work its way into the commercial market and the consumer market. But it was still an unusual handle material. Now, I actually have handled a knife. I owned it at one time. I actually don't know what happened to it. I wish I did. It may have been stolen in either a break-in I lived through or lost in the fire when we had an apartment fire, or I had an apartment fire years ago. But that had a handle. It was also custom done, and it had aluminum and lucite. The discs were thicker than this. It was a larger scale knife. But they had put aluminum, lucite, so you could actually see the tang in there. It was very cool. I found it fascinating. I found it in a garage when I was living at an apartment as a kid. And I had it for decades. And until the fire, I had kept track of it. So I'm not 100% sure it went, which depresses me. But, life moves on. So now I have this one, which was done by somebody in their garage or their workshop in their basement, because they replaced it, and they did a pretty darn good job. I mean, they brought this in like this to meet the guard shape. The guard is probably the original, because that's steel. But it is just a pretty design, and they did an excellent job of removing this, getting it back on, because it looks like it came out of a factory like that. It's comfortable. I'm not 100% sure what that is in here. That could be Bakelite. That's potentially Bakelite. It's not leather. It's too hard for leather. Even oiled, thick leather. No, I think that might be Bakelite. I don't have an ability to test for that, and I'm not sure that there is a test that doesn't involve destruction of some variety, which I don't want to do. So I'm not. If anybody out there knows a quick, simple test that isn't destructive for telling if something is Bakelite, I would love to know. That would be kind of cool. But this is the original Buffalo Skinner. But I got to be honest with you, if this is not a very big knife, I would not try to skin a buffalo with this. Maybe you can skin a buffalo. I know I couldn't skin a buffalo with this thing. I don't have a sheath for it because this is just how I bought it. But yeah, it's a great little knife. It's a great size. I mean, for like just your a nice little bushcraft knife for a simple startup, or like a knife for a kid, this is great. I mean, it's not all that thick. It's not all that heavy. Actually, let's whip out the scale and tell you how heavy it is. There we go, and we got 102 grams, so not heavy at all. So yeah, so this has been the original Buffalo Skinner with a custom handle, which is what really attracted me to the knife. and why I bought it. So if you have any interesting knife handles out there, let's talk about it. Whoops, sorry, I just smacked my camera mount. But yeah, I love this when someone is taking their skill and effort as an amateur to change this up just because they wanted their own custom knife handle rather than just put bone jigging back on it, say it was damaged or something. So yeah, this is just cool. So thanks for being here today, and I hope that you'll come back for the next one.